Hey there, Mouse Ears Universe. Thank you for joining us on the Mouse Ears Podcast, your go to source for all things travel, but mostly Disney, brought to you by Fairy Tale Journeys Travel. Whether you're a first time visitor or a travel pro, we're here to bring you the latest news, insider secrets, and fun stories from the happiest and most magical places on Earth. Make sure you give us a like and a follow on whichever platform you are listening to or watching us. So, put on your favorite mouse ears, kick back, and enjoy this West Coast cruise episode because this adventure starts right now. Let's cue that intro.
Welcome back to the Mouse Ears Podcast. I am Jenny, and I am one of your hosts for this evening. And with me, fresh from vacation, we have Brooks. Hi, Brooks.
Heidi ho, neighbors.
It's so good to see you. We missed you
It's-
last week.
I missed y'all. I was in West Virginia, the state that they call almost heaven. And let me tell you, if I could have that weather year round, it would be almost heaven. On the lake, low 80s, no humidity, like maybe 10% humidity. And the locals were saying that that was high humidity. And we were all
Wow.
like, what? Like went in some caverns and it was 52 degrees in the caverns.
Oh,
I was
wow.
like, can I just have this like temperature year round? This is amazing.
Yeah, it is nice. It's beautiful up there. Well, we're glad you're back. We're glad that you had a chance to relax and regroup and get back to it. So
That's
we
right.
missed you. All right. With us tonight, we have a very, very special guest, one of my favorite people in the world. We have Miss Sarah Allen, who is one of our Fairy Tale Journey agents. Hi, Sarah.
Hello, thank you for having me.
So, Sarah is joining us for today's episode on Ovation of the Seas, and we are super excited to speak with her. She has a lot of knowledge, and I can't wait to absorb it all. But first, we are going to head over for our trivia question. So, Brooks, take it away.
That is right. So tonight's trivia question, or today, whenever you listen to it, you know, morning, afternoon, evening, we're all here for the trivia. But the trivia question is brought to you by Fairy Tale Journeys Travel. Next time you want to book a Disney cruise, let the agents at Fairy Tale Journeys Travel take care of all the details for a stress free experience and no additional cost to you. When you book with them, not only do you get expert advice like from Jenny and Sarah, but you can also receive up to $1,000 of onboard credit. This offer is exclusive to bookings made with Fairy Tale Journeys Travel, so contact them today and let them know that the podcast sent you and enjoy a magical Disney cruise getaway. So, tonight's trivia question, we are going to one of Kelton's favorite topics. You know, he is loyal to Royal. uh, Tonight's trivia question is, what is the name of the robotic bartenders found on Ovation of the Seas and other Royal Caribbean ships? And this one is a multiple choice, so you have a 25% chance of getting it right. Is it A, the Mix Masters? Sounds like a cool DJ group. B, the Bar Bots? C, the Bionic Bar? Or D, the Robo Tenors? Stay tuned to the end of the episode to find out. And now back to our masterful host tonight, Jenny. Jenny, back to you.
Thank you so much. So, Sarah, I am so excited that you got to do this cruise. When you announced it to us, I was like, oh, that is going to be glorious. Just what a way to add on to your epic summer of travel that you have going on here. So it seems like you have been everywhere, just everywhere all summer.
I've been a lot of places since April, but staying home for most of the summer. Well, just in Michigan. When you live in Michigan, you try to enjoy the summers here and not go other places. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. All right. So you had the chance to go on Ovation of the Seas, which is one of Royal's ships. It is in the Quantum class, and this ship was launched in 2016, and it has a capacity of a little over 4,000. And it's very tech savvy. I did not realize this about this ship.
It
It's very
is.
tech
Yeah.
savvy.
Yep.
It's very sleek, large indoor spaces, cold weather friendly, which is going to come in handy in just a bit. And it has a lot of signature spaces on it, like the North Star, Ripcord by iFly, the Cplex, the 270 Lounge, and the Bionic Bar, which had to do with our trivia question.
Yes.
So I want to know, what were your thoughts when you first boarded the ship?
Yeah, well, the quantum class has never really been on my radar before. I've been on two Oasis class ships and really enjoyed those. And my very first Royal Caribbean cruise ever was on, I'm sorry, I'm looking at my notes, Brilliance
No,
of the
go for it.
Seas, which is a Radiance class ship. So super small, not a lot to do. So, like I said, the quantum class really wasn't on my radar. They are introducing the quantum class to LA, and Royal Caribbean had taken a break, had 10-year break from having a ship in LA. In 2022, they put the Navigator there, which is just kind of a tiny ship, not really attracting a lot of, I think it just doesn't have a ton of amenities on it. So bringing a quantum class ship to LA was a huge deal. And there were a ton of people there from that area, because if you live in LA, like to take a 3-night cruise, that, you just drive down to the port. So having that ship there is a really big deal for that area, for the ports that they're going to go visit. And to answer your question, when I walked on board, I was really, really surprised at how much I liked it. I was sleeping on this. It is definitely a class of ship that you shouldn't miss.
All right. How does it compare with the other ships?
So I felt like it had a lot of the same amenities as the Oasis class, which is bigger, but it felt much smaller, more compact. The promenade is smaller. When you walked in the ship, you were like, oh, we're already at the back of the ship, or oh, we're already at the front. But when I looked at like the chart today as I was preparing for this, it's only a little bit shorter than Oasis class. So it doesn't have the neighborhoods like Oasis class does, but it has things like the iFly and the North Star, an indoor pool area, which even in the Caribbean, sometimes, like in December or January, it's a little chilly to be out on the pool deck. So having that indoor space, not just the adults only solarium, which is on most of their ships, but the indoor pool space for kids, I felt it was a really nice touch. And so when this ship goes to Alaska or is in Asia, that is and even LA, it was cool. It's that kind of like San Francisco feel as we went further down the coast, and Sonata was really foggy and kind of cool in the mornings, warm in the afternoons.
Yeah. So what kind of atmosphere would you say it has? Like, is it more energetic or more relaxing?
I think there's both. There's that energy on any ship when you enter the promenade. Like that is what they're looking for, is to wow you when you walk in. But there's little spaces that are relaxing. The adults only solarium is a very quiet, nice place to be away from the kids. And then at the very back of the quantum class ships is the 270 lounge. And at night, that we're going to get to that, but at night that's an entertainment complex. But during the day, it's like all these little places to sit. And then there's these huge windows all the way across the back of the ship. So you can just sit and visit. There's a cafe right there. There's a bar right there. So those are some nice places to get away. There were tons of little places to kind of sneak away.
That is very cool. Now, I want to move on to the staterooms. And because they have the virtual balcony staterooms, which I thought were
Yes.
so cool.
Yes. Yes. I did get to see that. And I actually stayed in a virtual balcony on Utopia over Christmas. Um, because that's what my family could afford. We had 2 cabins. My kids are older. I liked it. If you're going to be in an interior room, having that window was nice. And even like the screen is, you can tell it's a screen, but there's curtains on the wall. So even just having those curtains pulled gave you the illusion that you were on the outside of the ship, even though we were in the center of the ship. So I kind of liked that, like, mind trick. And then if you wanted to peek and see where we were, the cameras are live and it projects on this screen that's this huge wall, which would normally be, the door of your balcony. And then there's curtains that pull to cover it up so you can go to sleep.
That is so cool. I love
It
that.
is cool. I think it's really clever.
Yeah. And, and if you're going on a budget, but, you still don't want to feel, I guess, cramped in a room.
Claustrophobic.
Yeah. Just a
Yep.
little claustrophobic. I think that's a really cool thing that they have. So they also have suites that have access to coastal kitchen.
Hmm.
And did you get to see any of those?
We did get to tour some suites. They had a whole list of rooms available for us to be able to tour. I toured the Grand Suite and a couple others. Those are incredible spaces and, ways for you to spread out, ways for you to have extra amenities on the ship. Um, Actually, on our ship, we had a couple of cast members from Grey's Anatomy and Scandal, and Shonda Rhimes and Shonda Land were on board. And I'm sure they had suites. So they had a special space where they could be away from the rest of us during the day and other places to eat, um, where they could have a little more privacy. But there's spaces to hang out on the pool deck, not the pool deck, but like a sunning deck that would be extra for the suite guests. And then you have access to Coastal Kitchen, which is a nice add-on rather than being in the buffet for lunch and breakfast.
Now, I have to ask, did you see any of the cast?
Yes.
Was it the newer cast or the older
So,
cast?
and I don't know their real names, but it was Ben, Miranda's husband, was from Grace, was on board, and we did see him in the bar. And I've told people, I was like, I'm not the kind of person who normally is like, oh, he's really good looking. But we walked into that bar, I was like, he was stunning, like across the room. If you didn't know who he was, you have been like, he's somebody. I don't know who he is, but he's somebody.
I mean,
And then
he was a anesthesiologist and then a
then a
surgeon and then a
firefighter. Yeah.
firefighter.
Yeah.
Yeah. My
Very
friend was
impressive.
all fangirl. She couldn't talk. We did get a picture with him and her. And then we saw his real name is Josh, and he was on Scandal and West Wing. He was the attorney general on Scandal. And we got a picture with him. Amelia Shepard was on board, but we didn't see her except
Oh,
in the Q&A. And then Quinn from Scandal was on board as well. And Shonda, and I don't remember her partner's name that makes Shonda Land,
yeah.
the two ladies who do it all. So they had a really cool Q&A for us with them and some Grey's trivia and Grey's Anatomy music and all that kind of stuff. It was fun.
That sounds so neat.
That would be
I'm
a
jealous.
robust
It
trivia
was
if you've
a
covered all
surprise.
of Grey's Anatomy.
Started 20 years ago.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so neat. Um, all right. The rooms, there's a lot of tech in the rooms.
Hmm.
So, can you touch on that just a little bit?
So some of the rooms you can get into with your app, your Royal Caribbean app. You also have a key card. So if that's not working for you, that is your backup. They do have USB ports in the room, which I guess is kind of outdated tech now, but if you have adapters for your new chargers. But some of the other boats don't have that. So to have that option for charging at night was really nice. Um, there's some other features in the app. Some of the rooms have curtains that are um, controlled by the app. Our room did not, but some of them do. But there was tech everywhere. I mean, the Bionic bar. I think we're going to touch on that later.
Yeah.
That's really cool. The 270 entertainment area is a huge complex of technology. There was lots on board to be wowed by, for sure.
That is cool. And do you have any advice for choosing a room, like location or size, or any kind of tips on that?
Sure. When I'm booking a client, I always, you know, trying to stay within their budget. So we start by talking about, what were you hoping for? And we kind of look at, I would always want to start with a balcony or a suite, but an ocean view room is a nice place to stay with a window. There's so much to do on the ship. You don't necessarily need to be in your room. And then, like I said, my family has stayed interior because that's what we could do for a Christmas cruise on Utopia, was stay interior. While balcony would be my suggestion, lots of rooms are an option. I always look to make sure that I don't put clients underneath the pool deck or like an entertainment area, because those can be noisy at night when they're moving deck or pool loungers on the deck. They're scraping and stuff. My mom's real sensitive to smoke, so we try to keep her away from the casinos. And then as far as like space in the room, a cruise ship is the rooms are small. And so if you have little kids, 4 people in a room is still a lot. We did do a balcony room with 2 teenagers and 2 adults. And literally my daughter's friend's head was, this this far from me while we were sleeping. And you couldn't walk around the bed when the sofa bed was pulled out. So if you're going to put 4 people in a room, you have to know that you're just going to have to pack your patience and take turns. You can't have 2 people in the bathroom. There's just not space. So ideally, if you have 4 people, you would get adjoining rooms. If you have older kids, you can take the balcony room and put them in an interior across the hallway. My kids were like on a different floor because that's all that was left, but they're quite a bit older. And it was really nice for them to have their own space and not be in my space.
Yeah, if you have 4 to a room, you have to know them very well, or you're going to know them
You're
very well
going
by the
to, yeah.
end of the cruise.
Yeah, and we have a family of 5, so I guess I could touch on that. People who are a family of 5 know that the world is not made for a family of 5.
It so is not.
And, and cruising on Royal Caribbean is not a lot different. There are some rooms on board Royal Caribbean ships that do hold 5. There are not a lot. They book up quickly. So if you are a family of 5 and you want to book just one room, you need to book early. And that's now is not early for Christmas of this year. Now is late for not a family of 5 for Christmas of this year. You need to book like a year out. And that doesn't mean there aren't any rooms for 5, but they are scarce. You're not gonna find a ton of those. The other options, on this ship, there is a spacious ocean view room. It only sleeps 4. On some of the other Royal Caribbean ships, the spacious ocean view and the spacious interior will sleep 5 to 6, just depending on the ships. So that's something to think about. Like, those are options. Getting 2 rooms. Or the other thing that I say to clients sometimes, if they're traveling with grandma and grandpa, if grandma and grandpa are willing to take your 3rd child in their room,
Yeah.
that's an option for a family of 5 as well.
All right. That is great advice. I love it. All right. Moving on to one of Mouse Ears podcast's favorite topics is food, because we are foodies. Um,
Veggie,
So
veggie, fruit, fruit.
veggie, veggie. We like the veggie, veggie, fruit, fruit song too. Dining highlights. There is a main dining room. There's specialty dining. There's coastal kitchen. There's a bionic bar.
Mm-hmm.
Um, where were some of your favorite places to eat?
So on this cruise, it was just a 3-night cruise, and it was a travel industry cruise. So the specialty restaurants were not available to myself. They were for, I don't know, other important people got invited to those places. So we did the Windjammer is the buffet on all Royal Caribbean ships. So we did that, and we did the main dining room, which are both very lovely. And then there's lots of other options on board. Sorrento's Pizza is open late, and most of the day you can just drop in and get a piece of pizza. The Cafe Promenade has little sandwiches and snacks and coffee and that kind of stuff. So there's plenty of options on board. They did have a sampling session for us. So we got to go around to all of the specialty restaurants and try little bites of their food. And it was, I mean, the restaurants themselves are decorated so beautifully, and the food was really good as well. But we didn't get a chance to partake in that on this cruise.
Did you know if there were options for people that had like special diets or picky eaters or anything like that, or people like me allergic to everything?
Yes. um the dining staff on Royal Caribbean ships is amazing at helping people find something that they can eat. My sister's a vegetarian, and she has a mushroom allergy, so a lot of vegetarian stuff is not suitable for her. So they worked with her very well on our Christmas cruise. My nieces are 5 and 8, and they are also vegetarians, but very, very picky. So the waiter was very sweet, and he was very helpful to try to figure out what he could bring them that maybe wasn't even on the menu that they could eat. Another time we cruised with a friend's nephew. I think he was a teenager, and he's looking at the appetizers, and he was sort of a picky kid. And he goes, "Oh, there's nothing on here that I like." I said, "Do you like French fries?" And he goes, "Yeah." I go, "Ask if you can have French fries." It wasn't on the menu. He was like, "I can." And so he he was like, "Can I have French fries for my appetizer?" And the guy was like, "Sure." He At the end of the cruise, he goes, "I had French fries every night for my appetizer." So they will do what they can to
Yeah.
accommodate and keep you safe, keep you happy. Even if you're like, which entree should I get, the chicken or the beef? They'll bring you both
Okay.
and say, "Well, how about I bring you both?" If you can't decide on dessert, they'll bring you all three.
That's a
So
dangerous little game right there.
it's really fun.
Now, overall, how did the food compare to like if you went to like a land-based resort?
I think their buffet is actually bigger than most of the all inclusives that I've been to. So the Windjammer has tons of options for breakfast and lunch. The dinner options, so there's a different menu every night. There's probably 4 appetizer choices, 4 entree choices, 4 to 5-ish dessert choices. So um, probably less choices at dinner, but definitely like an array of things. There might be one night on your cruise that you're like, well, I picked something that I didn't love, but it was okay. Like the main dining room, I think does a nice job of finding a way to find something that everybody's happy with. And what I say to clients is, you can pay extra for the specialty dining and do that if that's important to your family, or you've already paid for this cruise. If you're happy with, like, the food is good, it's not going to be anything that you're like, "Oh my gosh, that was the best meal I ever had." But I feel like the wait staff, like, they add to that as well. The staff on board of these ships is incredible. And, by the end of your trip, you feel like you want to bring them home with you, not just to serve you, but as your friend kind of a thing, because you get to know them. And yeah, so that adds to And they're the same. If you choose a dining time of, the 5 or the 8, you get the same wait staff every night. So they get to know what you like and don't like.
That is great. That is fantastic. For someone like me, I appreciate that because it is a lot to sit and explain to a new
A
person
new person, yeah.
every single time and go
Yep.
over it every single time. Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. Did you get to go to the Bionic Bar?
Yes.
And what
That
are your thoughts on that?
It's a really cool thing to watch. It takes a lot of time, so it's not something that you're going to do over and over again, right? You're going to order your drink once, you're going to watch it, make it, take your video, and yeah, it's a neat kind of experience on board. But there are plenty of other bars to get quicker drinks at.
Were
And
the
the
drinks
bartender will
good?
talk to you. Yeah, the drinks were great. We found a bar that had champagne that we really liked, and a bartender
Okay.
that we really enjoyed chatting with. So we spent a lot of time at that place.
Like a real bartender or a robot
Yeah,
that
not at the
responded?
Bionic bar.
Oh,
No,
okay. Okay.
He was real. He was real.
Okay.
he
I
was
well,
real.
I mean, AI is very impressive nowadays.
It is.
I don't think
Yeah.
they're quite there yet on the ships, but I'm sure
Give it
someday.
5 years.
Yep, that'll be a cost saving.
All
Well,
right.
moving on from dining, there's a lot of entertainment and activities
Mhm.
on the Ovation. Some of the highlights, then we had briefly mentioned the 270 lounge, which is 270 degrees of views by day and multimedia theater by night. The North
Mhm.
Star, which from pictures looks stunning. It's a glass observation capsule for aerial views.
My
Uh,
son said
yeah,
it's a hamster wheel on a crane, which is, I mean, that's what it looks like, a
yeah.
hamster wheel on a crane. It goes up really, really high.
There's the Ripcord by iFly, which is a skydiving simulator. The Cplex, which has bumper cars, roller skating, an Xbox lounge, and
Yep.
trapeze. And then also with live shows, with original productions, aerialists, and digital projections. Um, did you catch any of the shows while on board? I know you said you were on a
Yes.
shorter trip.
Shorter trip. So the first night we saw a cabaret in the Royal Theater called Live Love Legs, and there was a kind of disclaimer on it that maybe it wasn't for young children. It was very well done. The costumes were a little skimpy and some of the dancing was a little risque, but it wasn't completely over the top. I don't think it would be something that kids would want to sit through, even if you didn't find the costumes skimpy. And then there was that same night they had like kind of an introduction at the 270 lounge where he kind of showed what the screens could do. So there's all the windows in the back are screens, these giant screens, and they told us how many pixels. I'm sure Brooks, you would be impressed with that. I didn't know what that meant. They did tell us it cost them $13.5 million to make, to more than that, because 13.5 was what the first Royal Caribbean ship cost, and this particular lounge cost more than the first Royal Caribbean ship cost to make.
That's
And then
insane.
they have these large TVs on robots. So I think there's like 5 to 7 of them, and they move, and there's like a video on them, and the video, like it was a person in a box, and they flipped it, and then the person was, kind of like that kind of thing. That's what they showed us that first night. The second night, it was called Spectra's Cabaret, and although the dancers were very good and the music was good, I did not enjoy the content, and neither did my friend. It kind of felt like The Matrix does singing and dancing. It was odd. It was extremely I don't know what made it feel Matrix like, but my friend said this, like we said at the same time. I think it was the narrator. I don't know. It was very odd, and we almost left a number of times. I hope that they'll put something else in that space because the space is really cool. That I do not think children would be entertained with either. But really cool. The stage isn't just like a regular stage. There's like little elevated places, and they come up from the ground and they're there. So the technology was incredible, and all the things they were doing were incredible. It was just the content was it was just odd.
Mhm.
Not my favorite. Maybe other people loved it.
So did you try any of the activities on board? Like
So
the hamster on the
yeah,
hamster wheel on
we
the crane?
that would be one of my tips would be to sign up for those things as soon as you get on board. And we did, but we did not have socks with us. And so we couldn't do the iFly. Our luggage, so when you get on a ship, you leave your luggage with the porter and you get on board, but our luggage hadn't come to our room yet. So we missed our first um reservation for the iFly because we did not have socks with us. So I would say if you were going to be on board and you want to do the iFly, and in fact, you can, if you're not doing the kind of cruise that if you're doing a regular cruise, I had a client on board last week and she reserved the iFly ahead of time. So reserve your iFly spots ahead of time. That is an extra fee on board, but a really cool experience. We went and watched, and there's a area to go and watch. So even if you are not adventurous enough to do it, it was really cool to watch people trying it, and then the instructor, what he could do in there was incredible. Other people were not allowed to do what he was doing, but that was cool. Then there's a flow rider right there as well, which you didn't mention in that. And teenagers love that flow rider. It's a surf simulator. So that is on the back of the ship. I did not try that either. That is not something that I would be good at. It was like 69 degrees. And then the North Star, we had an appointment, and then we found out about the Q&A with Shondaland, and so we chose to do that instead. But
Gotcha.
I think that would be really cool to do, to be able to see the port or even just see ocean everywhere. Definitely. And they had a lot of appointments. They had a lot of appointments available.
Gotcha. So would you say that this ship is more geared towards the relaxing cruise goer or more the activity driven cruiser?
There's a I think it's more geared toward, well, I think if you're going to do both, you have to have the activities on board and then you can choose to not do them. If you have a ship that doesn't have the activities, you can't do both. I think this ship does do both because there are so many activities. That Seaplex was incredible, and like I said, I've never been on Ovation a quantum class ship before. The sports court on Oasis class is outside, and sometimes it's hot, or I mean, they don't have bumper cars or roller skating at those either. But the fact that it was indoors and it was this really cool space that families could go hang out in. The family that went last week, they sent me pictures. They did bumper cars. They roller skated together. Like, that's what a Royal Caribbean cruise does really well, is they provide experiences that families can do together, and they make it really easy. And then you can drop the kids off at the kids club and go do adult activities. Like, it's such a great combination of both. When you go to the beach with your kids, it's not really a vacation for mom. You are on the whole time. You're cooking, you're cleaning, you're doing laundry, you're hauling everything to the beach. Like, on a cruise, you can have a vacation as well.
The beach is not fun with kids.
I mean, it's fun. It's just not a
Well,
break.
it's not relaxation equals fun.
No, it is not. It
And
is not.
it's not relaxing.
I'd still rather be at the beach than stuck at home, but
Still. Yeah. Well, you live in Michigan, so I don't blame you there. Other than the summer. I mean.
yep.
All right. So speaking of the family and the kid friendly type stuff, they have an Adventure Ocean youth program,
Mhm.
and the teens only hang out in arcade. Like you had mentioned, the Cplex doubles as a teen magnet with bumper cars and all that. And then the
Mhm.
family staterooms are also an option. So, um, in your opinion, would you say that this is a good ship for like a big multi generational group?
Yeah, and I think cruises, most cruise ships are a great option for multi-generation cruisers because there's something for everyone. You can come together at dinner, you can come together for the shows. Um, some people can go, do Grey's Anatomy trivia while others are going to go do karaoke. Like there's something for everyone. We did a trip at in December. I have 20 something kids, aged kids, and my sister has littles, and then my parents are in their 70s. So there were 11 of us. And, we hung out together most of the time, but there were times when, my kids didn't want to do little kid karaoke. So they went and found something else to do. There's tons going on all the time. There's more than you can fit in for sure.
What is little kids karaoke?
Oh, wow.
Like
Yeah.
what
Every night they had it.
what songs are in little kids karaoke?
I mean, some of the same songs, but there's a limited choices.
Mhm.
And a lot of Taylor Swift was chosen. I love Taylor Swift, but a lot of kids who didn't
I am
know
not a
and then they
Swiftie.
couldn't read. There was one girl who did the same song every night, but my nieces were just like, and my littlest niece said, "Next time we go on a cruise, I'm doing Pink Pony Club." So
I could
that
get
is super cute.
I mean my little 2-year-old right now goes in where she sings "Let It Go, Let It
Mhm. I'm
Go."
sure that one was available. There were a lot of
Yeah.
Disney songs available for sure.
We're trying to teach her Wicked songs right now.
Oh,
So, if I could get her to start belting Defying Gravity, I feel like I've succeeded as a father.
I I can't wait for that video.
yeah.
I can't. My Broadway
We're
love and
praying
heart.
for a theater child.
I look, I am all for this. I
You're
am
gonna
all
get a
for
lacrosse
this.
player.
I I mean, if she wants to play soccer or something like that, I'm all for that too, but if we could if we could also put theater in there in the hot summer months in South Carolina, I would not be opposed to that as well.
Good luck.
She she's probably gonna wanna play ice hockey. So,
I think she'd be good at that, though. I mean,
yeah, she has my bone structure. She's built for it.
she's a cutie. I love that little one. She is so cute. All right, and this one's kind of a big one. There's a lot to unpack here. The itinerary and the destinations for this ship
Mhm.
is um a lot more than what some of the other ships go to, like as far as the amount of travel that it does.
Yeah.
So yours, what ports did you go to?
So mine was a 3 night. So we went to Ensenada, which is in Mexico. So they told us that Ensenada is a 2-hour drive from San Diego. Not very far. On our sea day, we just kind of sat in the ocean. We didn't even really go anywhere. But this
A
ship,
snail's pace?
I don't even know that I think they like cut the engine and we were just floating.
Just drifted.
Was really impressed with the geography. Like I've done cruises out of Florida before, probably 5 or 6 of them, and really enjoy that. But the geography in LA, I was really struck by it. It's beautiful. Like it's beautiful. LA is smoggy and full of traffic, but it is beautiful in its own way. And as you go further down the coast, it's a lot like that with less people and smog. So Ensenada was very mountainous, right on the ocean. Not what you typically find at some of the ports like Cozumel or Bahamas. More like it definitely had that Pacific feel. So I thought it was a really nice change of pace. And when you fly out to LA, there's so many things to do there as well. So if you did a 3 or 4 night cruise out of LA, you could go jump up to Disneyland for a few days. You could do Universal Studios Hollywood, which I did do. I was impressed with that as well. And then there's just all the stuff in LA, all the Hollywood and I mean the studio tours and all of that kind of stuff there. So it really opened my eyes to the possibilities. They kept saying West Coast is the best coast. So I was super impressed. This ship is going to do 3 night, 5 night, and 6 night out of LA until September 17th. And then it's going back to Asia. Um, my pocketbook doesn't include going on an Asian cruise, but that would be really cool. Maybe someday. But so the 5 night cruise goes to Cabo and does an overnight there. So they have 2 nights in Cabo, San Lucas. And then the 6 night cruise does Ensenada and then the 2 nights in Cabo. But I do know that after the Ovation leaves, the Quantum of the Seas is coming, which is also another Quantum class ship to LA, and it's doing similar itineraries to what the Ovation is doing right now.
That is cool. And this one also goes to Alaska. I love that.
Yes, yes.
I love that. So,
That's on my list.
yeah, that's on my list. I really want to do an Alaskan cruise. And like we were talking earlier that this ship is built for the cold. I imagine with all these scenic itineraries that having something, like the North Star would be an added value to the cruise, the North Star and 270.
Yeah, because you could sit in that room and just as you're going, the Alaskan cruises go through, they have a couple days at sea that are going through the glaciers. So you could sit in that room and just watch from there or make sure you get your reservation for the North Star on one of those days for sure. I'm sure
That would be
there's definitely
stunning.
a lot to see from there.
That would be stunning.
And then the indoor pool areas and the indoor sports courts, yeah, they thought that through for sure.
Now, were you able to do any excursions?
Yes. In Ensenada, we did an excursion to a winery, and I had no idea what we were in for. They said Ensenada has 250 wineries. And so we had met some older ladies at the bar from LA, and they turned their noses up. Oh, you're going to a winery in Ensenada. It was incredible. It was so beautiful. The mountains, like the deserty, rocky mountains and the flowers, and it was a really, really neat experience. And then we went on this wagon throughout the whole winery, and at every stop we tried a different wine. And then they took us back into town, and we went and had fish tacos because fish tacos were invented in Ensenada. Did you know that?
I
I
did
did
not know
not,
that.
but thank
Um,
you, Ensenada.
well, fishermen kept catching sharks in their nets and they didn't want to waste it. So they battered it and fried it and put in a taco. So real fish tacos are mako shark. Did you know that?
Hmm, I did
Did
not.
not know that.
So we went to this teeny place and they made us those. And then we went tequila tasting as well. And so,
Tequila.
yes, it was
Mhm,
great.
mhm,
He told
mhm,
us all
mhm.
about he was like, I know some of you have a bad relationship with tequila. You've had bad experiences, but that's the big house tequila. They don't let the plant grow long enough, old enough. They use baby plants. And that's why you maybe get sick. But his tequila won't make you sick because the plants are older.
I like that. I
Yeah,
like that.
it was real
Um,
fun.
As far as, because you've been on several royal ships and you've done
Mhm.
multiple cruises with them, are there any standout ports or excursions that you recommend from any of the
On
ships
any
that were
cruise?
yeah, that were your favorite?
Well, we did one cruise that went to Key West and the Bahamas. So we did a little tour in Key West that was super fun, just on this little train, and took us all around and kind of gives you the history of each town. And then we've done the snorkel, like take a catamaran out and snorkel. We've done that a couple times. When we have our kids with us, we tend to do more like the adventure type tours versus um, the things that maybe adults would prefer. So doing the wine tasting probably was my favorite of all that we've done. They also have whale watching in Ensenada, which obviously in the Caribbean, they don't have a lot of that. Um, yeah, there's tons of options on the app that would fit, you know, if you're adventurous, if you're not adventurous, if you're super active, if you're not super active, if you've got little kids or big kids. There's tons of options to take part in, to either just do something fun at the port or learn something about the place where you're at. Just go to the beach. When we were in Nassau with my family at Christmas, since we did have the littles and the older kids, we did resort for a day and we walked. That wasn't through Royal Caribbean. Because we walked there, I felt like that was safe because we could make sure we got back to the ship in time. But we did resort for a day at Margaritaville, and they had water slides and a lazy river, and just hung out at the pool um, by the beach, and that was a really nice option for NASA.
That sounds so nice. Like,
Hmm.
I could totally use that right now. Now, we had mentioned before that this ship had a lot of tech involved in it. So they offer the high speed Wi-Fi at
Hmm.
sea, and of course they have their app. Most places have an app now, but you can do a lot of things with the app. And the touchless tech is something um, that they have rolled out. So, did you use the app a lot when you were?
You definitely use the app a lot. It's got the whole schedule on board on the ship, and it's got a really nice way. Like when you see something you like, you can heart it and put it on your kind of schedule so that you're not looking like, where was that karaoke going to be again? It also tells you all the restaurants, the times that they're open, because it can vary, especially if you're at sea or in port, like when the pizza place opens, kind of a thing. All the entertainment is listed there. So there was this gal named Darla who sang at one of the bars every night, and she was incredible. So we made sure we found out when she was going to be there. We would go sit at that bar and listen to her. What else about the app? You can text each other on the app. The one thing that we figured out kind of a little bit late after our second cruise was you have to have the notifications enabled, or otherwise you don't know that somebody texted you. Um, obviously, right? But that's nice. So you don't have to have the internet package. If you want to disconnect and not have internet, or if you don't want to spend money for your whole family to be on the internet, you can still text each other with the Royal Caribbean app. But that's it. You can't text home unless you have the Wi-Fi. The Wi-Fi is decent. It's not like you're not going to do, you wouldn't record this from, you
Yeah.
wouldn't do a Zoom call for work. Getting on and working was challenging. Like just, it's more like dial up. That
Yeah.
things
Nice.
are just slower because you're out at sea, but you can text if you have the internet package, and that's nice to stay connected. So if one person in your group has that, just to kind of keep tabs on whatever's going on at home, that's a good way to handle that.
Yeah. That's good. I love that you can text each other through the app. That's got to be great when you're on there with, your teenagers and,
Right, just to
to
know where
keep track.
everybody is, or
Yeah.
yeah.
We're like, hey, we're going to meet here. That
Mhm.
that would be great. And then you don't have to, do all that. Um, okay. Are there any features that make things easier for guests and like any kind of learning curves, like for a first timer?
If you do have the internet package, getting on the internet package is my husband wasn't with me. He usually does that for me. They handed us directions and I had to go down to the help desk. So that would be my advice. Like if you can't get on, just go to the help desk and they deal with people like me every day and they're just like, here, this is what you do. Um, so that like exploring, like when you get on, walk around the whole ship. The other thing, I don't have a great sense of direction. So if I get off an elevator, is this way the front of the ship or this way? I really have no idea. But there's maps at every elevator that are very helpful to find out where you were. And then by the last night, we figured out when we get off the elevator, we need to go the opposite way of the stairs to get to our room because we kept going and having to
Taking the
That would
long
walk
way
around,
be,
around.
yeah.
taking the long way around. It took us way too long to figure that out, but
You're on
we were having,
vacation. You're not supposed to be getting your steps.
I know, a lot of fun. So yeah, take advantage of the maps. Just walk around, explore, ask questions, go to guest services if you need help, go to the Wi-Fi help desk.
And
Those would be my.
are they physical maps or is it on the app or
There's a deck map on the app. I don't know that we really use that a lot. There's like a maybe younger people would prefer that. There's a map on the wall and
okay.
you are here
That
and
would
you can be
So
be
like,
so
okay,
it's
we need
not
to go this way.
I don't know. I just had the image of the episode of Friends where they're in London and Joey's like he has to figure out where he is. It's like, hold on, I have to get into a map, and he literally sets the map on the ground and steps onto the map and is looking around.
The other thing that Royal Caribbean ships do, and it always takes me way longer to realize this than it should, but at so there's usually a front-ish bank of elevators and a aft-ish bank of elevators, and they have different art hanging in that large space. So if you can remember that the red stuff hanging is in the back, and then the rainbow stuff is in the front, then you know where you are. But it always takes me longer than it should to realize that that's how they distinguish the forward and the aft elevators.
so Sarah needs to be on longer cruises, is what she's saying. So
Yeah,
That's
your
what it
way
probably
sounds
around.
3
like.
nights like I just figured it out.
3 nights, 3 hour tour.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
Oh my
We need to
goodness.
get you on a 7 night minimum next.
Well, I think this one's doing like an 18-day trans-Pacific after it leaves LA.
Ooh,
Oh,
that's a
that would be
long cruise.
nice.
That's a
Yeah.
long. That's a lot of days at sea.
Yeah, that it would
I would
be,
imagine
but
they have more than 2 shows for that cruise
I would
I
hope
because
would
so.
hope so.
you don't see the same one every night.
You're like, this is great. And
That
then
same little girl is going to sing the same song every single night in
Exactly. Yep.
karaoke.
Karaoke. Exactly.
And now Wonderwall.
Yep.
all right. So, pro tips and final thoughts. And you have done a great job with putting tips in for like this
Yes.
whole episode. So, if anyone has skipped ahead to the back end of this episode, you need to watch the whole thing because you're going to be missing a lot. So what is one tip that you would give someone cruising on the Ovation for the first time?
Well, one, you should book with a fairy tale journeys travel agent so that they can tell you all the things that you need to know about this cruise. I think just once you get on board, making sure that you get all your reservations, they will put the entertainment and kind of activities, those should be loaded up within like with a week to a couple days leading up to your cruise. So if you have the time, and I know I always struggle trying to get ready for vacation to have extra time to sit and prepare. But if you can, kind of look at the schedule and see what kind of things you're going to want to do, then you're going to know when to plug in those reservations for the iFly and the North Star and not do what I did and miss out on that because they add Shondaland in as a surprise. But yeah, I would try to do and know that you can't do everything. That would be my other tip because that's something that I get wrapped up in is like having anxiety about getting to do everything that I want to do. And you're not going to get to do everything. You'll have to come back and do it again.
And who do you think would love this ship the most?
I think it's a great ship for that. I mean, I have two boys and a girl, but my girl's happy anywhere. My boys would have loved this ship at ages 12 to even 22, where they are right now. The client who was on it last week, she has little kids like 8, 6, and 2. They loved it as well. So I really think it really they have enough things on there for both the little kids and the big kids that it's a great family ship.
That is good to know. Um, would you do this ship again? And
I would. Yeah.
Which itinerary would you want
Oh,
to do?
I really do want to do Alaska, and I think it would be a great way to see Asia as well. Because you can get back into your comfy place and where all your stuff is and have food maybe that you're comfortable with. But also get to see all these amazing places on the Asian coast. Like I do think that would be amazing.
And what would you say is a must do experience on board?
I think that iFly is really unique. Like, I mean, we
Remember
would
your
have to drive to
socks.
but bring your socks. Or well, they really want us to have shoes, but they were like, well, at least you have socks. Tennis shoes and socks is what they wanted you to have. We have one in Chicago, so it's 2.5 hours away to do. But yeah, like I would really like to try that someday. And the bumper cars on a boat.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that would be fun.
Mhm.
for sure.
That'd be fun. Bumper cars are always fun. I mean, just crashing into people is just great. I don't know. It's special. It's special. All right, do you have any other tips for us?
If you do want to do specialty dining, you can make those reservations ahead of time. That's probably a good idea to do that ahead of time. If you have little kids who think they might want to do the kids club, there is an open house when you get on the ship that while you're at port. So go check it out, sign them up, and then if they decide they don't want to do it, then you don't go. But if you don't go explore it, you won't be able to go in there after that first day. You can't go in there with them. So to go in there with them and walk through it and see if it's something they might maybe want to do. If you have little kids, you can do after 10 p.m. You can pay to have somebody watch them. If you have kids that can stay up that late, some people do. We did not, but then adults can do more adult things without little babies, or go to have a nice dinner and leave the kids. Book the specialty restaurant just for you and your husband, and then drop the kids off at the kids club.
Those are great. Well, thank you so much for being with us and for
Yes.
sharing all of this. It was
Thank you for having me.
exciting. Yeah, it was exciting to kind of, as you were going through and sending pictures to us, it was like, yay. I loved it. I
You
loved
got to
it.
plan that cruise to Alaska, Jen.
I know, right? Let's do that.
Yeah,
Let's do that. I
that'd be
am
fun.
dying to do that. Um, Brian wants to do it too, so we might have to make it a
Oh,
couples
oh, for
cruise.
sure. It would for
'Cause
sure be a couples cruise.
yeah, because I don't know if I'd be able to come back home if I didn't take him. There might not be a husband there if I leave him and go to Alaska.
hmm
All right. Well, we really appreciate your time and we are
Yes.
so grateful. And I just adore you. So we're going to go back to our trivia question and find out that answer. And so
Yes. So, if you've been paying attention to the episode, you should already know the answer.
Mm-hmm.
But what is the name of the robotic bartenders found on Ovation of the Seas and other Royal Caribbean ships? And your choices were A, the Masters. I wanted to say the Mix Meisters. B, the
I
Bar
like that.
Bots. C, the Bionic Bar. Or D, the Robo Tenders. I'm just thinking of the three tenors. Uh, and the answer is C, the Bionic Bar, which was mentioned several times in this episode.
Yeah, we really gave
So-
away the answer on that. We really gave away the answer.
Yes.
All right, well, folks, that about does it for this week's episode of the Mouse Ears Podcast. Don't forget to join our Mouse Ears Podcast Facebook discussion group and our Facebook page. You can also follow us on TikTok, X, and Instagram to stay up to date with all things travel, but mostly Disney. If you are interested in having a Fairy Tale Journeys agent book your next trip, visit fairytalejourneys.com and let them know that the podcast sent you. And finally, if you enjoy our weekly episodes of the Mouse Ears Podcast, we'd love for you to leave us a review wherever you listen to us. Until the next episode, where we will be covering Disney's nighttime spectaculars. Thank you so much and have a great day.
Bye.